What's the deal with women in prison? In the last 25 years, the number of women and girls caught in the criminal justice system has skyrocketed. Many have been swept up in the war on drugs and subject to increasingly punitive sentencing policies for nonviolent offenders. There are now more than 200,000 women behind bars and more than 1 million under what we call correctional control, meaning probation or parole. The fastest growing prisoner population in the United States is women. The population jumped nearly 800% between 1977 and 2004 and has increased every year since at roughly double the rate of men. The United States habit of incarcerating women started 150 years ago. The first women's prison in the country, Indiana Women's Prison, was built in 1868 and received its first inmates 4 years later. The first federal prison for women, the Federal Industrial Institution for Women, didn't open until decades later, in 1927, in Alderson, West Virginia. That's the prison where celebrity homemaker Martha Stewart did her time. Instead of being locked in tiny cells for 23 hours a day, the women in both of these facilities were put to work with clerical, cooking, and farming duties. It's important to note that at the time, most female prisoners were guilty of disobeying the laws set during the Prohibition era, or for being quote-unquote wayward women, meaning that they had premarital sex. It's easy to say that women who break modern criminal laws deserve to be punished. However, there are other considerations when we speak about female inmates. Many incarcerated women struggle with substance abuse, mental illness, and histories of physical and sexual abuse. Few get the services they need. Incarceration's toll on women, girls, and their families is devastating. To wit, the Federal Adoption and Safe Families Act requires states to terminate parental rights to children that spend at least 15 of 22 consecutive months in the foster care system. Afterward, children are placed for adoption. The math gets ugly here. 85% of incarcerated mothers are sole caregivers for their kids. Their median minimum sentence is 36 months, meaning that if the children can't be placed with relatives, they're often displaced from their mothers forever. While no one suggests that women shouldn't be accountable for their actions, we don't want our practice of locking up women to undermine families and communities either. But that's what we're doing with the growing rate of female incarceration.